Hi, I'm Dr. Snow here to talk to you today about something very important. And it's a question we should be asking, but why are the big food companies wanting to keep us eating sugar? It's been proven over and over again that most of the problems that we are facing here in America really come back to the foods that we eat. Our diet here in America is loaded with sugar. I use this statistic a lot, but we used to eat hundreds of years ago only about 2 to 3 pounds of sugar a year. Now Americans are eating 120 pounds of sugar their weight a year, and the sugar it's hidden in so many different foods that we eat. Standard American diet is loaded with sugar, and that's where this 120 pounds or more of sugar is coming from a year. And 90% of the sugar is going to be found in our processed foods. So a good question to ask is what's so bad about sugar? And the truth of it is sugar is addictive. It's been proven in laboratory experiments that rats will choose sugar over cocaine. And cocaine is a very addictive substance. And so we're talking about the dopamine pathway and other neurotransmitters like serotonin that the sugar activates. And food companies know that if they put the sugar in the foods, that people are going to desire those foods more. They're going to want more of those foods. And the way that sugar stimulates our appetite, when insulin goes up, our hunger hormone goes up called ghrelin. And so we're going to eat more of that food. We're going to want more of that food. And sugar is just plain and simple addictive. And they want to keep the sugar in the food so that we eat more. So we have to find out like how to figure out the sugar thing and how to educate ourselves as consumers. And one of the first things that we teach people is just you need to learn how to read the label. It can be easy to pick up sugar when you look on the back, and it's different names that you might be familiar with, like glucose and sucrose. And if you've been listening to any of our videos, you've heard the word fructose or high fructose corn syrup. And so if you're familiar with that, then that's half of the battle there, just looking on the back of the label and seeing how much sugar is in there. But you have to know more than that. There's so many different hidden forms of sugar. And so we need to start to educate ourselves and see, okay, what are these other different names of sugar? How can they be hidden? Some real simple ones are going to be, a lot of people don't even recognize that high fructose corn syrup is actually a sugar, or fructose is, which I mentioned that just a few seconds ago. But even simple things, like cane sugar, turbinado is another one that is hidden. I was at a Smoothie King a couple years ago, and I drove through there in a pinch, wanting to, just get a quick smoothie. And I figured, hey, they're going to probably have some protein options. And when I asked the person at the front, what do you have, that doesn't have sugar? And they're like, oh, number 5 and number 6 and number 7, they don't have sugar. They have something called turbinado in it. Well, turbinado is sugar. And so you have to be careful, even at some of these healthier places. A lot of times the people aren't even informed, that are working there, on what real sugar is or what all different things have sugar. So learn to read labels. You have to educate yourself about labels. And you need to know, when you look on the back of a label, it won't take long. If you look at words, you can't find that word. Most of us have smartphones nowadays. Let's look up those words we don't understand. After we create that habit for just, even a couple months, we'll really start to understand what's in our foods. But you want to know that there's some good things in foods, so they might add some vitamins in there. I'm not a big synthetic vitamin fan, but I'd rather have a food that has thiamine in it, which is a B vitamin. It's good for circulation and our heart, many other different tissues, than like not understanding that there's sugar in that particular label. So we want to educate ourselves on what's good in that and what's bad in that label. And then just false health claims. It's real interesting when you start to understand and you learn the vocabulary of food labeling, knowing what your macros are as far as proteins and fats, what different types of foods are going to have certain items in it. Like, for example, things that aren't of an animal origin aren't going to have any cholesterol in it. So it's kind of funny when you see in the store certain things that are labeled, cholesterol free. That sounds, like a good, healthy thing, and it doesn't have the cholesterol in it. However, cholesterol is not necessarily bad, depending what type of food you're eating, but it's the claim that they're making. And so we have newer claims like this food is gluten free, this food is high protein, but just because it says high protein doesn't mean it doesn't have sugar in it. And just because it says that it's gluten free doesn't mean it doesn't have a lot of sugar, a lot of carbohydrates in it. So let's understand, let's not be just easily fooled by a health claim on the label. Let's start to understand what these words mean. And so you're going to want to educate yourself on this. And you just want to know more ingredients. Again, we want to know, hey, is this a vitamin in here? What type of protein is this? This is a little off of sugar, but I see a lot of times you'll see eat a food that should be healthy. They do this a lot with hummus, and they got to thin the hummus with a particular oil. And a lot of these companies to save money, they're putting these subpar ingredients. So they'll use things like soy oil or canola oil to cut this hummus, and it's very tough on the liver and the gallbladder. But this is just another concept of like knowing your label and really educating yourself, knowing what types of sugars there are. And some other common names are different natural sugars. And so we have things like coconut sugar, we have honey, we have maple syrup, we have cane sugar. Those tend to have a very positive connotation about them because some of these other things you think, hey, this is good. Coconut's good. I heard coconut oil. Honey's got to be good for me. It's natural. But all these things have fructose in them and have these different sugars. And yeah, it's even good to get, sugar from a fruit. But when we have sugar handling problems and we have metabolic disorder, we have high body fat, energy issues, thyroid problems, hormone problems, ADD, I just tell patients, hey, sugar, sugar, sugar. You can get too much sugar from fruit. And so we have to educate ourselves and see how much sugar we're getting. When you look at the different professional recommendations, I'll say 6 teaspoons of sugar a day is good. But we're getting way more sugar than that. Most Americans are getting somewhere around 17 teaspoons of sugar a day. And I'll tell you right now, 6 teaspoons of sugar is way too much. We have to educate ourselves. Can we completely avoid sugar? And the question is, yeah, you can avoid sugar. You don't necessarily have to avoid all sugar. But if we can just get and understand, okay, is there fructose in my ketchup? Is there sugar in this protein bar? Is this green drink that I just bought from the health food store, is it loaded with fruit sugar? And a lot of times when you're eating these juices, you're like, oh, wow, I've never liked greens before, but this green juice, I like it. Most of the time, if you look at it, it's full of sugar. And that's why you like it. And that it creates that addiction and that dependency again. And so it's not necessarily about avoiding sugar, but it's about getting healthier items, healthier foods, educating yourself so that if it has sugar in it or not. So at least you know how much you're getting that day. And, having a sweet tooth isn't so sweet. Just to end on this, getting too much sugar is bad for your thyroid. It's bad for your adrenals. It's really tough on women and the hormone system. You get too much sugar, you're going to be higher in estrogen. And so that's going to be PMS, worse PMS symptoms. If you're a postmenopausal woman, that usually tends to bring the hot flashes back. Or if you're in the perimenopause, early menopausal state, getting sugar and not know where it's coming from will make your hot flashes worse. I found a lot of times when I identify the sugars from my female patients, they don't have hot flashes anymore. They don't have these hormone problems. Libido comes up. If they're cycling female, they really start to diminish the PMS symptoms because the estrogen starts to come down. The liver actually has more energy to detox. And so, hey, let's educate ourselves on sugar, learn how to read labels, realize too much sugar is bad for us. Hey, I hope that helped you. If you want more videos like this, just click on our channel, subscribe to our email list. And I look forward to educating you again soon.